Life owes you nothing, you must create your own value. The illusion of entitlement. There is a dangerous belief that often creeps into our thinking, especially during hard times. It's the idea that life owes us something simply because we exist, because we've suffered, worked hard, or followed the rules. This belief is comforting, but it is a trap. The truth is harsh, but liberating. Life owes you nothing. It never did, and it never will. Many people grow up with the subconscious expectation that if they do certain things, go to school, get good grades, follow the system, be kind, play by the rules, then success, happiness, or at least stability should follow. When that doesn't happen, frustration sets in. We say things like, "I did everything right, why is this happening to me?" or "I deserve better." But those statements are built on a false assumption that life is fair, or that it owes us a reward for effort alone. Let's be clear, effort is necessary, but not sufficient. Just because you work hard doesn't guarantee success. Just because you are kind doesn't mean people will treat you kindly. Life is not a vending machine where you insert goodness and get fortune in return. It is more like an ocean, indifferent, vast, and constantly shifting. It gives nothing freely, but it offers opportunity to those who are willing to swim, build, and adapt. When you believe that life owes you something, you hand over your power. You wait. You expect. You become passive. And in that passivity, you lose your ability to shape your future. Entitlement breeds stagnation. It encourages you to focus on what's missing instead of what you can create. It makes you feel like a victim instead of a builder. One of the most damaging aspects of entitlement is that it often disguises itself as self-worth. People think, "I'm worth more than this," and while self-respect is essential, it's not enough to change your life. The market doesn't care about your worth unless you can turn it into value. The world rewards contribution, not complaints. It rewards solutions, not struggles. Let me give you an example. Imagine two people lose their jobs. One person says, "This isn't fair. After all I've done, I didn't deserve this." The other person says, "This is tough, but I'm not going to let it define me. I'm going to find a new path, learn a new skill, or start something on my own." One is stuck in resentment, waiting for life to fix itself. The other is stepping forward to create value from the ashes. So where does this illusion of entitlement come from? Partly, it comes from the culture we grow up in. We're often told we're special just for being ourselves. We're rewarded for participation more than achievement. We're taught that if we're not immediately successful, something must be wrong with the system. And while it's true that systems can be flawed, the danger lies in thinking that someone else should fix them for us. It also comes from pain. When we suffer, we want that suffering to mean something. We want it to be compensated. But the truth is, pain is part of life. It's not a currency that buys redemption. It's a signal. A lesson. A challenge to overcome. Your suffering does not guarantee you a better tomorrow. Your response to it does. And let's not confuse this message with cynicism. Saying life owes you nothing is not a statement of hopelessness, it's a call to power. Because when you realize no one is coming to save you, you start becoming your own hero. When you stop expecting life to hand you a break, you start creating your own breakthroughs. This shift, from entitlement to ownership, is one of the most powerful transformations you can make. It means moving from "I deserve" to "I will build." From "Why is this happening to me" to "What can I do with this?" From waiting for permission to giving yourself permission. It also means accepting that failure is part of the process. If life doesn't owe you success, then your failures don't mean you've been cheated, they mean you're learning. They mean you're still in the game. And every time you fall and get back up, you're building resilience, experience, and wisdom, the real currencies of value. In this first part of our journey, I want to leave you with a simple truth: life does not owe you success, love, money, or recognition. But you owe it to yourself to earn them. That is not unfair, that is empowering. Because it means the door is open to anyone who's willing to walk through it, no matter their background, pain, or past. Entitlement waits. Ownership acts. Entitlement complains. Ownership creates. Entitlement sees limits. Ownership sees possibilities. If you're willing to let go of the illusion that life should treat you a certain way and embrace the responsibility of building your own path, then you've taken the first, boldest step toward freedom. In the next part, we'll talk about exactly how to create value, and not just for others, but for yourself. Because when you stop asking life to owe you something, and start asking yourself, what can I give? That's when everything begins to change. Creating value with a real currency of success. Now that we've stripped away the illusion of entitlement, the next question becomes, what do I do instead? If life owes me nothing, how do I claim a place in this world? The answer is both simple and powerful: you create value. Creating value means becoming someone who contributes, solves problems, brings insight, skill, or energy into the world in a way that others find meaningful. In other words, you become useful. You stop trying to be worthy in some abstract sense, and instead, you become valuable in a real, tangible way. Let's start by clarifying what value actually is. It's not about money, though money often follows value. It's not about being popular or praised. Value is about impact. When you create value, you make things better for others. You make someone's life easier, clearer, more joyful, more efficient, more productive, or more hopeful. That might come through a service, a product, an idea, or even a single conversation. And here's the truth many people miss: you don't need permission to start creating value. You don't need a degree, a title, or a perfect plan. You just need awareness of problems around you, and the willingness to do something about them. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're working in a company and your job is to manage emails. Most people just do the job as instructed. But someone who wants to create value might notice that the communication system is inefficient, and they design a better workflow, or automate a repetitive task, or suggest a new tool. That person didn't just do the job, they added value. And that difference is what gets noticed, rewarded, and remembered. Creating value is not limited to the workplace. If you're an artist, your value lies in helping people see the world differently. If you're a teacher, it's in unlocking potential in others. If you're a friend, it's in your ability to be present, to listen, and to lift someone up when they're down. But here's the important thing: you can't create value if you're focused only on yourself. The mindset of "what's in it for me" kills creativity. The mindset of "how can I help" unlocks it. That's why the most successful people in the world, entrepreneurs, leaders, inventors, creators, are problem solvers. They look for needs, and then they meet them. Not once, but constantly. So, how do you begin creating value in your own life? 1. Start with self-awareness. What are your strengths? What do you enjoy doing? What do people often come to you for? The intersection of what you're good at and what people need is where value is born. You don't have to be the best, you just have to be relevant. Ask yourself, what can I do that helps others? It could be something small to start with. But the more you do it, the more you grow your impact. 2. Look for problems to solve. Problems are opportunities in disguise. Every frustration you experience, whether it's in a job, a product, or a system, is a signal. Most people complain. But value creators ask, how can I make this better? Start small. Look around you. What needs fixing? What's missing? What's inefficient? The moment you start paying attention, you'll realize how many doors are waiting to be opened. 3. Be relentlessly useful. No one gets tired of someone who is useful. If you make yourself indispensable, by showing up, by being consistent, by going beyond expectations, you'll find that opportunities start chasing you. Being useful doesn't mean being exploited. It means aligning your efforts with meaningful outcomes, for both you and others. 4. Invest in yourself. You are your most important asset. Skills, knowledge, health, mindset, these are all tools you bring to the world. The more you refine them, the more value you can create. Read. Learn. Practice. Stretch beyond your comfort zone. Never stop growing. Because the more you grow, the more problems you can solve, and the more doors you can open. 5. Take initiative. Value is not created by waiting to be told what to do. It's created by doing what needs to be done, even before anyone asks. Initiative is rare, and that's why it's powerful. When you stop waiting for life to give you direction and start choosing your direction, you begin shaping your destiny. Let me be real with you, creating value is not always glamorous. It doesn't always come with applause. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's invisible. But over time, it builds something far more important than recognition. It builds trust, reputation, and resilience. It also builds self-respect. When you know that you can contribute, that you're not just a passenger in this life, you begin to walk differently. You no longer beg for opportunities, you attract them. You no longer feel small in a big world, you realize the world needs what you have to offer. Think about every major advancement in society, every business, movement, invention, or cultural shift. All of them started with someone asking, "What can I do that makes things better?" Not "What do I deserve?" Not "Why isn't the world giving me more?" But "How can I be the one who creates something meaningful?" That's the essence of creating value. It's not about waiting for luck. It's about becoming so capable, so helpful, so thoughtful, that life cannot ignore you. So ask yourself, what value am I creating right now? If you don't have an answer yet, don't worry. Just start paying attention. Start being intentional. Start doing. In the next part of this journey, we'll talk about how personal responsibility plays a critical role in sustaining the value you create. Because it's not enough to build something once, you have to own it, protect it, and grow it through conscious, consistent effort. Radical responsibility, the engine of growth. Once you accept that life owes you nothing and commit to creating value, there's one more essential truth you must embrace: you are responsible for everything in your life, especially your growth. This is what we call radical responsibility. It is the engine behind personal transformation. It's not just about taking responsibility for what you do, it's about owning who you are becoming. Now, let's get something clear from the start. Responsibility is not the same as blame. You're not responsible for every bad thing that's ever happened to you. Some events are truly out of your control: where you were born, the family you were raised in, or the circumstances you faced early in life. But from this moment on, you are responsible for how you respond, how you grow, and what you choose to do with your life. That is your power, and no one can take it from you. Radical responsibility means no more excuses. No more waiting. No more pointing fingers. It means saying, if something in my life isn't working, it's on me to change it. If I'm stuck, I'll find a way out. If I fail, I'll learn and try again. This mindset is not always easy, but it is always freeing, because it puts you back in the driver's seat. Let's explore why radical responsibility is so powerful and how to live it every single day. 1. You stop playing the victim. When you blame others, your boss, your partner, your past, you give away your power. You stay stuck in the belief that someone else must fix your life. But when you take radical responsibility, you stop waiting for rescue. You stop waiting for things to get easier. You start asking better questions. What can I learn? What can I do? What's within my control? The most successful people in the world don't wait for perfect conditions, they act. They know that even in chaos, they can choose their focus, their actions, and their attitude. That's responsibility in action. 2. You build unshakable integrity. Responsibility means doing what needs to be done, even when no one is watching. It means keeping your word, showing up fully, and being honest about your strengths and your weaknesses. This kind of integrity builds trust, not only with others, but within yourself. Every time you follow through on a commitment, you prove to yourself that you can be counted on. That builds self-confidence. It builds discipline. And over time, it becomes your identity. You no longer just try to be responsible, you are responsible. It's who you are. 3. You turn mistakes into momentum. People who don't take responsibility often run from failure. They hide from their mistakes, deny them, or blame others. But people who live with radical responsibility do the opposite. They own their failures. And in doing so, they learn faster, grow stronger, and move forward with more wisdom. Every mistake is a mirror. It shows you where to improve. But only if you're brave enough to look. When you stop fearing failure and start learning from it, you become unstoppable. You understand that every fall is a stepping stone, not a dead end. 4. You control the controllables. There will always be things outside your control, the economy, other people's opinions, random setbacks. But there will also always be things within your control, your effort, your mindset, your preparation, your response. Radical responsibility means focusing your energy where it matters. You stop wasting time complaining about what you can't change, and you double down on what you can. This mindset creates clarity and momentum. It turns you into a proactive force, someone who doesn't wait for opportunity, but creates it. 5. You become the leader of your own life. When you take responsibility for your growth, your decisions, and your future, you become a leader, not necessarily of others, but of yourself. You set the tone for your life. You set the standard. You no longer look outward for direction, you look inward for discipline and purpose. And when others see this, they respond. Responsibility is magnetic. People want to follow someone who owns their path, who doesn't make excuses, who takes action with courage. Whether you realize it or not, you are influencing others by how you live. Radical responsibility makes you a model of strength. Living radical responsibility. So how do you cultivate this way of living? Take ownership of your time. Where does your day go? How much is spent growing, creating, or contributing? If your time is being wasted, own it and change it. Reflect on your patterns. What excuses keep showing up? What habits are holding you back? The first step to breaking a pattern is admitting it exists. Ask the hard questions. When something goes wrong, don't just say, "Why me?" Ask, "What can I do better next time?" When something goes right, ask, "How can I build on this?" Surround yourself with responsibility. Choose people who challenge you to level up. People who don't tolerate excuses. People who live with integrity. Responsibility is contagious, so is blame. Forgive yourself and keep going. Taking responsibility doesn't mean being perfect. It means being accountable and compassionate with yourself. When you stumble, don't beat yourself up, just get back to work. Remember, no one is coming to save you, but you don't need saving. You need clarity. You need courage. You need responsibility. Radical responsibility is the bridge between who you are and who you want to become. It's not the easy road, but it's the only one that leads to real, lasting growth. Because when you take full responsibility for your life, you stop being a passenger and start becoming the author of your story. In the final part of this speech, we'll bring everything together. We'll explore how building a life of value, growth, and responsibility leads not just to success, but to significance, freedom, and true fulfillment. From survival to significance, building a life that matters. We've traveled far in this journey, from breaking the illusion of entitlement, to creating real value, to embracing radical responsibility. Now we arrive at the final and most meaningful destination, significance. Because here's the truth, success is not the finish line. It's a milestone. A stepping stone. A foundation. What truly matters is not just what you achieve, but what you become, and what you give back. That's what takes you from survival to significance. That's how you build a life that matters. Let's take a moment to define what significance really means. It's not about being famous, rich, or celebrated. It's not about how many followers you have or how loud your voice is. Significance is about impact. It's about legacy. It's about how your life affects the lives of others, even when you're not in the room anymore. You can survive by taking. You can succeed by building, But you only become significant when you give. When you use your growth, your strength, and your value to lift others up. When you live not just for yourself, but through yourself, for a cause, a mission, a purpose. 1. Why significance matters. Most people live in survival mode. They wake up, go to work, get through the day, and repeat. They may even find success, money, titles, comfort. But something inside still feels empty. Why? Because we were not made just to survive. We were made to create, to contribute, to connect. Without purpose, success becomes hollow. Without meaning, even victory feels like a loss. Significance gives your effort a deeper reason. It turns struggle into service. It turns personal growth into collective good. And it transforms your story into something greater than yourself. 2. From value to impact. In part 2, we talked about creating value. But the highest form of value is the kind that ripples. It's the kind that multiplies beyond your own life. When you teach someone what you've learned, you create impact. When you build systems, tools, or ideas that continue to serve others long after you're gone, that's impact. Think of a teacher who inspires a student to believe in themselves. That student might go on to become a leader, a creator, a problem solver, because of that one spark. That's significance. And you don't need a stage, a spotlight, or a perfect platform to create it. You just need a willingness to serve. 3. Living for more than yourself. When you stop asking, what can I get, and start asking, what can I give? Everything changes. This shift doesn't just benefit others, it frees you. Because chasing only personal gain often leads to anxiety, competition, and dissatisfaction. But living for contribution leads to fulfillment. This is not about self-sacrifice. It's about alignment. Aligning your talents, your time, and your growth with something that matters. Whether that's building a business that solves real problems, mentoring others, creating art that inspires, or simply being the kind of person who brings light into dark places, you are capable of significance. 4. Sustainability and purpose. A life of significance is not built overnight. It is sustained through intention. Through choices made consistently. Through showing up with integrity even when no one's watching. It's about playing the long game, not for instant rewards, but for enduring meaning. And you'll notice something as you build this kind of life, you need less. You no longer crave approval, applause, or validation. Because purpose gives you peace. Because meaning fills the space that ego once occupied. When your work is connected to something greater, obstacles become tests, not signs to quit. Criticism becomes feedback, not a reason to shrink. And success becomes a responsibility, not a possession. 5. Becoming a beacon. A significant life is not only one that builds, but one that inspires. And you don't have to be extraordinary to be that person. You just have to be intentional. Authentic. Real. You have to live your truth so openly that others feel safe to live theirs. When people see you creating value, taking responsibility, rising from failure, and serving with purpose, they see what's possible. You become proof. You become permission. You become a beacon for those still lost in the dark. That is the ultimate gift. Your legacy begins today. So how do you begin this life of significance? Clarify your values. What matters most to you? What do you want to stand for? Connect your work to your why. Don't just chase results. Chase meaning. Find the thread that ties your daily efforts to something bigger. Serve where you are. You don't need to be ready to make a difference. Look around. There's always someone who needs what you already have. Mentor and uplift. Share your lessons. Share your scars. Let others learn from your story. When you rise, bring others with you. Build with intention. Think long-term. Think legacy. Ask yourself, will this matter in 10 years? Will it still serve when I'm gone? The final message. Let's bring it all together. Life owes you nothing. It doesn't promise comfort, fairness, or guarantees. But that is not a tragedy, it's an opportunity. Because when life owes you nothing, everything becomes yours to build. You are the architect of your value. You are the guardian of your growth. You are the author of your meaning. You are the source of your own significance. So stop waiting. Stop blaming. Stop seeking permission. Start creating. Start owning. Start giving. Because the life you're searching for is not something to be found, it's something to be built. And the world doesn't need more entitled voices. It needs builders. Leaders. Givers. People who rise, not because they were chosen, but because they chose themselves. Choose yourself. Build your value. Live with responsibility. And leave behind a legacy that proves you didn't just survive life. You made it matter. Embrace your power to create. As we close this journey through the 4 pillars of creating your own value, I want you to remember one thing above all: you have the power to shape your own destiny. Life does not owe you anything, but it gives you the ultimate gift, the power to create, to grow, and to make an impact. You are not a passive participant in this world. You are an active creator. Whether you realize it or not, everything you do, everything you choose, shapes the life you will live. We've learned that creating value begins with understanding that nothing is handed to you. It's earned. It's built. You must decide what kind of value you will create, not just for yourself, but for others. And as you create value, you take full responsibility for your growth, knowing that, no matter where you start or what obstacles you face, you have the power to rise above. Radical responsibility means taking ownership of your actions, your choices, and your future. It's about accepting that your path is yours to make, that you can't blame others for your circumstances, and that even when life gets tough, you have the ability to learn, adapt, and keep moving forward. And finally, significance, real fulfillment, comes when you use your value to serve others, when your growth becomes a beacon that lights the way for those around you. True success is not about what you take from life, it's about what you give back. It's about creating a life of meaning and legacy that extends far beyond your own needs. So today, I invite you to step into your power. Stop waiting for life to give you something. Start creating the life you want. Live with intention, serve with purpose, and build a legacy that proves you didn't just survive life. You made it matter. The world needs your value. It needs your contribution. It needs you to show up boldly, authentically, and purposefully. Because you are the creator of your life story. And the best part? The world is waiting for you to write the next chapter.